There was a time, before the sky had a name, before the sea was divided, before the gods ruled anything at all, before light. The ancient world did not begin with order. It began with something else. Nyx. Not born, not created, but already there. In early Greek cosmology, before Zeus, before the Olympians, there was chaos. And from that came night. Nyx. Not as darkness in the way we think of it, but as something deeper, a presence, a condition. The space where everything exists before it becomes visible. Because night, to the ancient world, was not empty. It was full of possibility, full of fear, full of things that could not be seen, but were undeniably there. Nyx was not a goddess of something. She was the environment in which everything else could happen. And that made her untouchable. Even Zeus, king of the gods, did not challenge her. He ruled the sky. He controlled lightning. He commanded order. But Nyx, he left alone. Because some forms of power are not meant to be confronted. They are meant to be respected or avoided. Ancient texts describe her not with stories of conquest, but with lineage. Because Nyx did not rule through force, she generated. From her came sleep, death, dreams, fate. Forces that shape human existence without asking permission. She did not command them. She was them. A quiet architecture of reality. And unlike the Olympians, Nyx did not need worship. She did not need temples. She did not need to be seen. Because you cannot escape night. You can only move through it. And that is what makes her different. Nyx is not a figure you encounter. She is the condition you enter. Every time the world goes quiet, every time visibility fades, every time you are left alone with your thoughts, you are closer to her than you realize. Because night removes things. Distraction, noise, identity. What remains is harder to ignore. And that is where her power lives, not in fear, but in exposure. Because in the absence of light, there is nowhere left to hide. That's why night has always been associated with uncertainty, with the unknown, with the things we don't fully understand. But the ancient world didn't see that as weakness. They saw it as truth. Because what you encounter in the dark is often more real than what you see in the light. And Nyx represents that space. Not chaos, but depth. Not danger, but reality without distraction. Over time, as systems became more structured, more defined, more controlled, power like hers became harder to explain, harder to contain. Because Nyx does not fit into hierarchy. She does not answer to authority. She exists before it and beyond it. So, like many forces that cannot be controlled, she became something else. Abstract, distant, forgotten. Not because she disappeared, but because she was too large to define, too constant to notice, too fundamental to question. Because night is still here, every day, every cycle, every ending, every pause. And within it, there is always a moment where things feel different, quieter, more real, where what you've been avoiding becomes harder to ignore, and what you've been pretending begins to fall away. That is not fear. That is clarity. Because Nyx does not take anything from you. She reveals what was already there. And once you've seen that, you cannot unsee it. You move differently. You think differently. You understand things others may not. Not because you've changed the world, but because you've seen it without illusion. And that kind of seeing doesn't make you weaker. It makes you aware. Because the deepest forms of power are not loud. They are not visible. They do not announce themselves. They exist quietly, constantly, in the background of everything. And whether you recognize them or not, they are always there, waiting, not to be worshipped, not to be feared, but to be understood. Magen and Moon, where ancient symbols, ritual, and quiet power meet. If this spoke to you, subscribe and stay a while.